Today we're going to talk about hanging baskets and the different containers you can use, and just some basic principles to try and make it quite an easy task. So I've got a few here, starting with rattan, very cheap at the end of the basket range, or you can go to something like this plastic one that has a reservoir and you can fill it up through the pipe, so it just helps the plants not to dry out quite as much. A bit more useful if you're out at work all day, but there are other ways we can also help moisture retention. If you're using one of these baskets, the thing to do, they come, as you see, lined there with plastic, but what you want to do is, rather than making holes in the bottom for drainage, make it about an inch or so up around the edge, like that, and then what you can do is you then have a water reservoir in the bottom, so it will hold an inch of water in the bottom before coming out through the holes through drainage. The other thing to bear in mind is the volume of compost. If you've only got a little bit of compost, it's going to dry out that bit quicker. So, I mean, we do a 12, a 14 and a 16 inch basket in this range, for example. 12 inch is fine if you've only got a small area, but certainly as a general basket I would recommend the 14 inch because it just gives you that bit more compost and ability to hold more water. So we'll pop those out the way. Now you want a good quality compost as always. The more you spend on compost, the better growth you're going to get. So this is our normal Coolings professional compost. But to get the good growth, we add Osmocote, which is a controlled release fertiliser that reacts to the heat and moisture. So as the season warms up and you give more water, so more feed is released for the plant. And the other thing we always add is the Aquagel. This it looks like sugar, but when you add it to the compost, you mix both in like this, like you're making pastry, and what that does is it absorbs moisture and releases it slowly. So throughout the day, it just stops the hanging basket drying out quite so quickly. So hanging basket, we want something nice and tall in the middle. The idea is we haven't just got something on this level or coming down, we want it to come up and go down, so we've got a lot more colour. So I've chosen here a geranium, nice bright pink geranium, and some trailing geraniums to match, so the colour will coordinate. If you were doing for shade, you might like fuchsias, something like that, because they will actually flower and like a shadier position, whereas geraniums love that full sun. If we take that out of the pot, you can see a nice white root system there. So we put some compost in the bottom of our pot to start with. Now when you're filling it up, you want to make sure that by the time you've finished, you're about an inch down from the edge, so that when you water, not all the water just falls off the top as you add it. You've got a little bit of buffer there, so you can fill it up to an inch depth, and then that will slowly work its way through the basket. So we've got that in the centre. Then we'll add some trailing geraniums, as I said, around the side. Again, a nice white root system. And when you're planting, you should always plant in odd numbers. Just looks better. So we're planting 3s. In the larger basket, you might plant 5s. But you don't need to go too mad either. A lot of people think they've got to put a lot in and cram it in, but they will grow. If you go too tight, we need the air to get through there to prevent botrytis and things like that, all those diseases that kill the leaves off. So don't be too tempted to overpack it. Saves you money, but you will get a good basket in the end. White is a good colour. It's known as a foil with florists and what have you. It helps lift the other colours that you're doing. So I've chosen here Euphorbia Diamond Frost. Not a plant that many people know. It's absolutely brilliant. You don't have to deadhead it. It just keeps growing. You can trim it back, but you don't have to deadhead it. So we put 3 of those in. 2, 3, and then we fill up round those. Just a gentle firm. You don't want to go too mad. Leaving it, as I say, about an inch. This will settle now. There we go. Now, that, to be honest, is enough plants, but I am going to add in a couple of others just to add a bit more colour, because I've got them as a plug, which makes it a nice size to add in. So either side of that geranium there, I'm going to put a pink diacia, that side, and a pink bacopa that side. Pink diacia, whoops, pink bacopa, pink diacia, pink bacopa. Done. What I will do, which a lot of people, my mum hates this, says I'm cruel, take those flowers off. Well, obviously if you want it to look good immediately, leave them on. But it takes more energy for a plant to flower than it does to grow. So at this stage, I just want to get this established well in its basket or the pot. So I'm just taking those flowers off. These ones you can leave on. And there you are. Some tip I remembered I didn't tell you is when you plant a basket, make sure you take that out first. The amount of times I've seen people get their basket, get carried away, they do all this sort of thing, and then they go to hang it up, and of course the chain's in the bottom. So take that out first. So then pop that on the floor, give it a water gently with a watering can, and it's ready to hang up. So I hope that was helpful and it's given you confidence to get on and get your hanging baskets planted. Now's a brilliant time. We've just had another frost last night, but actually the weather forecast for the coming week's looking good. So now's the time to get planting, especially if you've got a greenhouse or cold conservatory, somewhere like that. You can just put them in overnight. All the plants now are ready. You can see through the glass houses. We've got plenty of plants for baskets at the moment. So come in and get them planted. Book them online if you can't. Get into the stores. But now is the time to get these planted so you've got a good display.